to be able to see the fans in face to face in real time and be able to feel that emotion and that connection to them, it's just like you don't believe it, and it's so hard to process.
No one could have predicted it. The discovery of David's girlfriend's body sent the internet spiraling, especially after rumors claimed she'd been pregnant. But the FBI's report crushed that theory. She wasn't pregnant at all. That revelation flipped the entire case upside down. Let's unravel how it began, with the body in the trunk. The entertainment world has long been shadowed by dark scandals, but few have stunned fans like the shocking find of 15-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez inside the trunk of a Tesla belonging to rising artist David. What started as a missing teen alert in suburban California quickly turned into a chilling Hollywood tragedy. One entangled with fame, alleged manipulation, fan conspiracies, and one haunting question. How did a young girl end up dead inside the car of one of music's fastest rising stars?
A teenage girl, missing since last year, has been found dead, stuffed inside the trunk of a car. And not just any car, but one registered to an up-and-coming celebrity.
So, who exactly is David? His birth name is David Anthony Burke, born March 28, 2005, in Queens, New York, and raised later in Houston, Texas. Fans today recognize him simply as David, stylized as D4vd, a 20-year-old singer-songwriter who rose from posting Fortnite clips with his own music to landing a major deal with Interscope Records. His career almost reads like a digital-age fairy tale. In 2021, his DIY lo-fi songs began trending on SoundCloud and YouTube, later blowing up on TikTok, where millions used his eerie tracks like Romantic Homicide and Here With Me in emotional edits. By 2022, Romantic Homicide alone had surpassed 1 billion streams on Spotify, solidifying him as an indie pop phenomenon. Yet, his art was far from cheerful. His lyrics delved into fixation, heartbreak, and death. Romantic Homicide, for instance, described killing a lover and featured a blood-stained visual. Another single, One More Dance, portrayed a lifeless body being shoved into a car trunk. In a 2025 interview about his album Withered, David even admitted that his songs often turned into eerie reflections of his actual life.
Hope I'm not. I really hope I'm not, because it feels that way. Because I look back to old songs like Life's a Dream and all these songs I wrote in my closet or my sister's closet in 2022.
So when word spread that a decomposing body was discovered in his Tesla, online detectives instantly tied it to his lyrics. What once felt like dark creativity now looked like a confession written in melody. Celeste wasn't a public figure, but after her death, her identity became forever linked to David's. Born around September 7, 2010, she grew up in Lake Elsinore, California, a modest town about 70 miles southeast of Los Angeles. Teachers described her as quiet and diligent. Classmates said she was kind but withdrawn, and a neighbor remembered her as a polite girl often seen clutching novels. But beneath that calm exterior, life at home was rocky. Celeste's family had reported her missing several times by 2024. An ex-boyfriend mentioned that she felt trapped at home and dreamed of running away. The first time she vanished was April 2024, when she was only 13. From then on, she drifted, sometimes seen back in town, sometimes rumored to be staying in Los Angeles with friends or older boys. By the summer of 2025, she had disappeared once more. Her family organized vigils, posters spread online, and digital investigators began suspecting a connection between her and a mysterious boy named David. That name, we now know, wasn't random at all. To grasp how Celeste's life ended inside David's Tesla, we need to retrace the timeline investigators later assembled. April 5, 2024, Celeste, only 13, was first listed as a missing child. It wouldn't be the last time her family contacted authorities about her disappearing. July 30, 2025, the final digital trace. A screenshot showed Celeste liking one of David's posts around that date. Police would later conclude this was close to when she died, judging from decomposition. August 27, 2025, residents of the Hollywood Hills reported a black 2023 Tesla sitting unmoved for days. Parking enforcement tagged it, identifying the owner as David. September 3, 2025, the car received a citation for illegal parking. Meanwhile, David was performing on tour, his most recent stop being Chicago. September 5, 2025, the Tesla was towed and impounded after being labeled abandoned. September 8, 2025, tow yard workers noticed a horrid odor coming from the trunk. When the lap opened it, they uncovered a decomposed female corpse inside a large bag. The body was so deteriorated that early reports described it only as a head and torso. Dental records soon confirmed the identity, Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Disturbingly, she had turned 15 just one day earlier. Locals later admitted they'd smelled something rotting in the area for weeks. One woman walking her dog said she thought it was just a dead raccoon in the bushes.
They discovered inside the Tesla's front trunk was every bit as horrifying as the smell had suggested. Stuffed inside a bag was a heavily decomposed body, described as a head and torso.
But it wasn't an animal. It was Celeste. When police verified her identity, the news went global overnight. The connection to David was impossible to ignore. His vehicle had contained her remains. Celeste's mother had previously told investigators that her daughter had been dating a boy named David. Friends remembered her showing up at house parties where others believed she was a 19-year-old USC student, though she was still just a kid. Fans online completely unraveled. Reddit and X, formerly Twitter, erupted with threads and theories. Was David complicit? Was it a massive cover-up? Or was this a horrifying coincidence where the violent imagery of his lyrics suddenly felt like a real-life crime scene? The comparisons were chilling. In Romantic Homicide, he sang about killing a partner. In One More Dance, his on-screen persona dragged a lifeless body into a trunk, and now, that scene seemed to have materialized. For listeners who had viewed him as a quiet, sensitive musician, the revelations felt like betrayal. Back in Lake Elsinore, mourners held a candlelight vigil on September 21, 2025. Neighbors gathered with signs, candles, and one demand: justice for Celeste. At the vigil, local resident Ruby Alonso spoke tearfully, "She deserves justice." The heartbreak stretched beyond California. On social media, the hashtag #JusticeForCelesteRivas trended worldwide as fans shared memorial art, heartfelt posts, and recollections of her life. Others turned their anger toward David, labeling him a manipulator and calling for his arrest. But in the haze of grief, another story began taking shape, one that would spiral out of control. Whispers circulated that Celeste had been pregnant when she died. The claim, unverified and later proven false, grew rapidly, fueled by alleged screenshots, wild Reddit theories, and sloppy online reporting about supposed FBI discoveries. That single rumor would soon become one of the internet's biggest falsehoods tied to the case. And with it, the chaos exploded: speculation, lies, and the long-awaited FBI disclosure. When Celeste's remains were found in the trunk of David's car, the reaction was instantaneous. Yet in today's hyper-online culture, news doesn't just spread, it mutates. Within hours, timelines across TikTok, Reddit, YouTube, and X were whispering the same thing: she'd been pregnant. Initially, people brushed it off as idle gossip. Then came the so-called proof. Anonymous profiles began circulating screenshots and chat logs. Fan communities went wild. Overnight, what started as hearsay turned into a widespread belief that David's deceased girlfriend had been carrying his baby. Except none of it was true. The first version of the claim appeared just days after her identity was confirmed. September 17, 2025. Local media officially named the victim as Celeste. Almost instantly, several accounts began sharing alleged messages from her. In these supposed texts, she mentioned wanting to go home and hinted she might be pregnant. One even implied that David was pressuring her over it. But investigators later clarified, those screenshots couldn't be authenticated. The account allegedly tied to David had been deleted, erasing any verifiable evidence. Still, the rumor caught fire and refused to die.
Since this information has surfaced, public speculation has been running wild, and many people believe that David may, in fact, be tied to what happened to Celeste. Take the tattoo, for example.
Then came the wildest rumor of them all. Certain users online began suggesting that infant remains had been discovered near David's Hollywood Hills property. Fans linked this idea to his music, especially Romantic Homicide, which contained lyrics about killing a lover and walking away without remorse. They revisited One More Dance, where a lifeless body is dragged into a car trunk, and resurfaced an unreleased 2023 demo titled Celeste, Unfinished. That track literally used her name in the lyrics: "Oh Celeste, the girl with my name etched on her chest, I still smell her on my clothes like cigarettes." With the pregnancy theory already circulating, listeners pieced together a horrifying narrative that David might have killed Celeste to silence her about being pregnant. But on September 29, 2025, nearly 3 weeks after her body was found, reality hit. The Los Angeles County Medical Examiner issued her death certificate. The cause of death was still undetermined, pending toxicology results. But one line shattered the internet's biggest theory: Celeste was not pregnant. That single statement erased the foundation of the entire online myth. The pregnancy claim wasn't just unproven, it was outright false. The medical examiner explicitly stated there was no evidence of pregnancy. Though her remains were badly decomposed, enough testing had been completed to confirm it beyond doubt. The following day, September 30th, a YouTube video titled "FBI finally reveals David didn't kill her after raiding his car," fans stunned shot to the top of trending charts. In truth, the case was managed by the Lapped Robbery Homicide Division, with all forensic analysis handled by the county's medical examiner. Still, the phrase "FBI reveals David's dead girlfriend wasn't pregnant" began spreading like wildfire on X and TikTok, with users quoting it as though it were from an official statement. Retired FBI agent Coffin Daffer, known for commenting on high-profile investigations, stepped in to clarify publicly that there was zero proof of pregnancy, emphasizing the claims were based entirely on false screenshots and misinterpreted posts. Her correction gained momentum among fact-checkers, but the damage was already irreversible. For nearly a month, fans had mourned under the belief that Celeste had been carrying David's child. They tied that theory to his song lyrics, their matching tattoos, and even his interviews. It offered an explanation for a tragedy that made no sense, until it was abruptly disproved. When the truth surfaced, many felt deceived. Some blamed the media for fueling the falsehood. Others doubled down, claiming authorities were hiding the real story. But most were simply left lost and uncertain. If she wasn't pregnant, then why had she died? Why was she in David's car? How could her disappearance have gone unnoticed for so long? In that silence, new conspiracies quickly filled the void. Just before Celeste vanished, a leaked version of one of David's songs appeared online.
In December of 2023, just months before Celeste disappeared, an unreleased track of his leaked online. The title, Celeste Demo Unfinished. And in the lyrics, he's saying about a girl named Celeste, describing her voice, her scent, even his obsession with her.
This case didn't unfold in courtrooms or police files. It played out across TikTok, Reddit, and Twitter timelines. A single unverified screenshot could launch a week of speculation. A YouTube thumbnail with FBI reveal in bold red text could generate millions of views. Algorithms fed the frenzy. Content about Celeste's supposed pregnancy racked up engagement, shares, and monetization. Theories spread faster than truth ever could. When corrections finally appeared, news articles citing the coroner's findings or sober explainer videos, they barely reached a fraction of the audience. This is what modern tragedy looks like now. Truth loses to narrative because narrative is more addictive. Why did so many believe the rumor to begin with? Celeste was 15, David was 20. The idea of pregnancy intensified suspicions of grooming. Their identical shirt tattoos were seen as secret proof of a relationship. The existence of Celeste, unfinished, with her name in its lyrics, felt like a smoking gun. For online audiences already conditioned to believe in cover-ups and hidden truths, the most extreme version of the story simply felt the most real.
For many, the fact that this song existed and that a girl with the same uncommon name later turned up dead in his trunk feels like more than coincidence. But the coincidences don't stop there. David was also reportedly spotted near Celeste's neighborhood before she vanished.
Even after the pregnancy theory was officially debunked, it refused to fade from public memory. Just the possibility that Celeste might have been pregnant had already reshaped the narrative. It fueled outrage, skyrocketed engagement, and turned David's name into a lightning rod across social media. What began as a heartbreaking story morphed into a scandal soaked in conspiracy. And that's the cruel twist of modern tragedy. Falsehoods often carry more power than facts. People don't spread data, they spread emotion. And nothing stirs emotion more than a taboo love story ending in death. By early October 2025, the truth was on record. Celeste was not pregnant, and her cause of death was still undetermined. Yet David's silence spoke louder than any statement. He cancelled the remainder of his tour, vacated his Hollywood Hills home, and wiped his online presence clean. To many fans, that quiet retreat felt less like grief and more like guilt. For critics, his silence felt like deflection. For Celeste's family, it was agony, another wound layered on top of loss. If she wasn't pregnant, then what really happened? And if David hadn't killed her, as his defenders insisted, why was her body inside his vehicle? The unanswered questions multiplied, but the fallout had just begun. A superstar's empire in free fall. The story of Celeste Rivas Hernandez didn't end with her death, or even with the chaos that followed online. What came next was a reckoning, one that threatened to tear apart David's career, his reputation, his fanbase, and the illusion of safety around celebrity culture itself. The case had evolved beyond gossip. It had become a mirror reflecting fame's darkest corners, where power meets vulnerability. By early October, the Lapped Robbery-Homicide Division still labeled the case simply as a death investigation. Not murder, not accident, just death. The wording kept the public on edge. Toxicology results were pending, the cause of death deferred, and detectives claimed to be pursuing multiple leads. Still, no arrests were made. David had not been charged. But public perception, that was already its own kind of conviction. The facts painted a grim picture. Celeste's body had been discovered in his Tesla, left abandoned not far from his rented Hollywood Hills house while he toured the country. On September 18, 2025, Lapped executed a search warrant at the property, seizing phones, hard drives, and boxes of evidence. Witnesses described officers combing drains and soil, reportedly testing for traces of blood or tissue. No conclusive findings were released, but the extent of the operation suggested police weren't treating it as a coincidence. Then came the revelation that David and Celeste had allegedly been involved. Friends of the artist told TMZ they assumed Celeste was a 19-year-old USC student often seen at music industry parties. She looked mature, blended easily with older crowds, and passed for college-aged, which helped her move unnoticed through La's nightlife. But she was only 15. Soon, photos surfaced showing the two together, flashing identical finger tattoos, hers and his, same design, same placement. Even more disturbing were claims that they'd first met years earlier, possibly when she was just 12 or 13. Anonymous online sources alleged they connected through Fortnite in 2021, when David was 16. If true, it implied their relationship started under troubling circumstances. One of Celeste's former teachers recalled her mentioning a rapper boyfriend from LA. Her own family later confirmed the boyfriend's name was David.
Celeste started skipping classes, and her attention shifted from her studies to her boyfriend David. At just 13 years old, she was diving into a relationship that her mother described as troubling.
The conclusion seemed unavoidable. This wasn't random misfortune. It was beginning to look like grooming. Once attention shifted toward David's past, more stories began surfacing. One anonymous girl claimed she had been manipulated by him in 2023, when she was 16 and he was 18. She described classic grooming behavior, love bombing, isolating her from friends, then pleading with her to keep everything private. Another alleged ex shared screenshots of messages where David begged mutual friends to delete clips that hinted at their involvement. The recurring issue was always the same: the age gap. Even before Celeste's death, corners of the internet had quietly joked about how he interacted with younger fans. A resurfaced 2024 livestream showed a chat comment from Celeste, then only 13 or 14. David's reaction was immediate. He asked moderators to delete the footage and wipe the moment from all archives.
We need to delete this.
Mods, can we delete all mods? And then as soon as the stream ends, delete the stream too?
Each piece of evidence on its own might be easy to dismiss, but taken together.
At the time, fans brushed it off, but now that clip looks like a red flag hiding in plain sight. The corporate world moved quickly. By mid-September, just days after Celeste's body was identified, major brands quietly pulled David from their campaigns. Crocs and Hollister removed his face from their Dream Drop promotions. The images remained, but his body was literally cropped out, a metaphor for how quickly Hollywood erases liability. Both companies released vague statements about being aware of the situation and removing his presence while the investigation continues. But the message was clear: David was now a liability. Fans had bought tickets months in advance for his We World tour, but after the lap raid, the cancellations began. Seattle, San Francisco's Warfield, Barclays Greek Theater. One by one, the shows disappeared from ticket sites as promoters scrambled to issue refunds. The European leg of the tour was scrapped entirely. In an industry where live touring accounts for most of an artist's income, the financial blow was catastrophic. Estimates suggested millions of dollars lost in ticket sales and merchandise. Yet the damage went deeper than money. The cancellation symbolized a larger truth: the music world had stopped betting on him. Perhaps the most telling fallout came not from brands or promoters, but from fans themselves. On X, hashtags like #JusticeForCeleste trended worldwide. Former supporters posted videos destroying their vinyl records and merch. Others edited TikToks dissecting parallels between his lyrics and Celeste's death. But a vocal group defended him, arguing that no charges had been filed and suggesting that the body's presence in his car could have been a setup. Others claimed the grooming allegations were exaggerated, citing rumors that Celeste used fake IDs to appear older. The fan war turned toxic fast. Online sleuths accused subreddit moderators of deleting critical posts to protect David. Threads filled with speculation, cover-ups, conspiracies, and whispers of industry protection.
The case continues to unfold, leaving the public, including myself, with countless questions. A trail of coincidences that start to feel less like coincidences and more like evidence, and a grieving family searching for answers.